Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting of the New London Board of Selectmen to order. It is Thursday, March 20th, 21st? 20th. And the first order of business is electing a chairman. And I nominate B.B. Kelsey as chairman.
I'd second that.
Okay, I'm sorry, what did I say? Kelsey, oh, Jesus. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sorry. Oh, what made me...
Thank you, Jan. Oh. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. We've got some hot topics tonight, obviously. First of all, I want to welcome Rich Anderson to being here tonight. Congratulations on being part of the Select Board, and I look forward to working with you. And also just want to give a quick shout out, take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to Bill Helm for his dedication and service to our community over the past 25 years. I really enjoyed working with Bill the last 2 years, and I look forward to, I wish him the best in his retirement, and don't go too far in case I need your advice. We'll start off tonight. We'll start off tonight with public comments, if anybody wants to make a comment on anything that is not on the agenda. Okay. So we'll jump right in. Old business to review our town meeting and the status that we're in right now. We had a meeting today with our town council, so I'm going to turn it over to Kim to give the report out.
Thanks, BB. As many of you probably know, or those that were at the meeting on Wednesday evening, we had a record turnout, which was the very good thing, I think, about the meeting. The big part that has taken up our time all week in conversations with town council is that a mistake was made at the town meeting with regard to the successful motions for reconsideration. The law requires that we should have given the day, time, and place for the meeting to reconsider those two articles. That was my mistake. I mean, I'm at a loss to say how I could make such a mistake like that, because it's a very basic thing. Nevertheless, that's what happened. So now we are faced with the need to fix that mistake. First off, those two successful motions to reconsider Article 3 and Article 9 must be acted on. Your town meeting is still open because of those votes to reconsider those two articles. So as we sit here tonight, we do not have a budget. Any of those other articles are not yet finalized because the meeting is still open. So we will have to have a meeting. The Selectmen will decide in consultation with others when that meeting will take place. But for my mistake, that would have been the end of it. But since there is that procedural defect, there has to be another meeting, at least 21 days after that meeting, to come together to say that that procedural defect is, that the town adopts it and says, we ratify that second meeting. We understand there was a mistake, and it is ratified. So instead of having one meeting to reconsider Article 3 and Article 9, there's going to have to be two. I'll also say, again, the town meeting is still open, so when you folks come together to reconsider Article 3 and Article 9, it's just as if you were sitting in the room Wednesday evening. You'll be able to debate it, discuss it, make amendments. Whatever you could have done on Wednesday evening, you'll be able to do on this upcoming meeting. Again, I apologize. I mean, that's, you know, it was a mistake that shouldn't have happened, I'll say that. Mr. Moderator, do you have anything to add?
Only about the election. I think you've explained the town meeting situation quite well. But the election's on Tuesday. We had 1,036 voters check in on the electronic poll pads, and we used a new ballot counting device. And we also, with permission of the Secretary of State's office, used a new piece of hardware to process the absentee ballots. It's a high-speed scanner, and representatives from the Secretary of State were present on Election Day to watch us process these absentee ballots with this new device. And we also had a visiting delegation from the town of Hanover, who are considering using that same or a similar high-speed device in the processing of their absentee ballots. Following this demonstration or use of this high-speed device under the supervision of the Secretary of State's office, they required us to do a hand count audit on Thursday of those same ballots. And so 3 of us went to the town office and we hand counted all those absentee ballots, and lo and behold, the results were identical. So the test was successful. There's every reason to suspect we will see that high-speed device going forward when we process our absentee ballots, and it really makes a difference. So the bottom line at the end of the day, when we take the high-speed device, we take the ballot counting device, the new one, the number of ballots that were processed agreed exactly to the number of people who checked in. That's about as good as it gets. So my thanks to Wilkiter for taking the incentive to arrange that demo with the Secretary of State's office. We learned a lot, they learned a lot, and it went really, really smoothly, and I'm really happy that he took the initiative to do that. And I think I don't have anything to add on town meeting. I think you've explained it quite well. I regret that the mistake was made, but it was made, and the statutes, the legislature has provided us with a cure, and that cure is that ratification meeting, which we have to have, which can be no sooner than 3 weeks after the second meeting. So once again, we will schedule the reconsideration meeting. The consideration of Articles 3 and 9 will be de novo. It would be as if it had never happened before. We start from scratch on 3 and 9. Whatever arguments need to be made can be made again at that meeting. And there will be if the article stays the way it is as a bond issue, it will be voted on by secret ballot as it was before. And we're struggling trying to figure out where to hold this meeting. It would be a shame if we scheduled it at a local venue only to find that we did not have capacity enough. We would have then to reschedule it. So it's a crapshoot. How many people do you think are going to come? I mean, we just don't know. We're still debating it. We really don't know. It's hard to tell how many people you can get in that gymnasium because the number that was given to us for the bleachers, I think, is for children, not adults. And if we try to cram any more chairs in there, we're not going to have the 6-foot alleyways required by the fire department for egress. So we really have to rework the numbers, sharpen the pencils, and see how many people we think we can get in there and how many people we think are coming. So you'll just be patient until we can figure that out and decide where we're going to have the meeting. Thank you.
Rich or Janet, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
Kim, if you wouldn't mind just covering, if you don't mind, just a little bit about the degree to which Article 3 could be potentially amended.
Sure. So amendments can be made to articles so long as the purpose of the article is not changed. So for example, Article 3 requests $955,000 to purchase land, specific piece of property currently owned by Mr. Garvey, and to do some research for a future police station. So you could amend it, say, for the amount of money. You could raise or lower the amount of money. You could decide to, say, purchase the property and not do any more work, so lower the amount that's requested. You could not change it to purchase another piece of property somewhere else. You couldn't change it to put a ball field there. The police station is what is listed. So those would be, you can't change the purpose. It needs to still deal with the police department at that particular site. Again, the amount of money could change, and you could change the details of what the selectmen have put forth to do. In other words, you could say, let's just buy the police station and leave it at that.
The property.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, buy the property for the police station.
Yeah.
So those would be okay. But again, moving somewhere else or deciding to do some research on other property elsewhere. Oh, and Michael has reminded me that you could increase the amount of the appropriation, so long as it didn't exceed by 10% the approved budget of the Budget Committee, and that's about $1 million. So you couldn't add more than $1 million to the article. I don't think we'd be in much jeopardy of that, but there is a limit as to how high you can go. There's no limit as to how low you can go. There is a limit as to how high you can go. Does that make it clear for you?
Okay. So just to be clear, we don't have a date yet. We were waiting to have that conversation with the town council, so we will be working towards finding a location that we think will be suitable and choosing that date, and then we will be doing proper notice for that. I just want to say, some have suggested that perhaps the selectmen might take a vote to not move forward with this meeting. Upon conversation with our town council today, we can't do that for the reasons that Kim just suggested. Our town meeting is still open right now. We have to move forward with this next step to reconsider Article 3 and Article 9 as the voters voted on Wednesday night. I've had lots of conversations with people about the divisiveness in town. I, just as much as everybody, want to mend that as much as possible. So my hope over the next few weeks, until we get to this second meeting, is really to have a lot of conversations, have some more community forums, share as much information as possible with people, answer as many questions as we possibly can, and try to bring everybody together on how we can move forward with a new police station, which I believe everybody in this town really wants to see happen. So I guess I'll open it up if there's anybody who wants to make any comments. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Karen Epstein. I guess I'm confused, so I'm looking for some clarity here. At the end of the town meeting, as I recall, there was a vote to adjourn. How does that play into what we just heard today, that the town meeting is still in session?
Adjournment is not defined specifically, but it's, since we voted to reconsider, the meeting is technically still open as considered by the Department of Revenue Administration. And nothing proposed in that budget can be finalized until we finish the reconsideration of these two articles.
All right?
The dissolution applied to that particular meeting, but it is in effect continued until reconsidered 3 and 9 like the voters wanted.
Not disputing that piece of it. I'm just looking for clarity that we took a motion as town meeting to adjourn. And it sounds like that is
The clarity
void,
is,
null and
we
void?
voted to reconsider, and we must have a meeting in the future to carry out that consideration.
That has
So
to be
so
carried out.
we didn't need a motion to adjourn that night, is what you're saying?
I don't know if we did or didn't. The bottom line is, the meeting is still open until we complete the reconsideration of Articles 3 and 9. I don't want to enter into a discussion of semantics.
I'm not trying
The
to-
issue is, the meeting can't be concluded until those articles are properly addressed, which has been the expressed will of the voters.
I'm not entering into a discussion about semantics. I'm asking a question for clarification, and I hope you have some empathy to why people may be a little confused that when they voted to adjourn, it didn't adjourn. I'm not looking for a dispute. I was looking for an answer and a clarification, and I would appreciate being treated in that spirit. Thank you very much.
I hope that's what you got. That's what I intended to give you.
And if I could just add in, I think that you have to have a declaration that the meeting for that evening is closed, so that there couldn't be continuing motions by whoever just happened to be in the room. There had to be, and whether you call it recess, adjourned, there's lots of different words that can be used. I think New London generally says adjourned, so everybody knows, time to go home, nothing else can happen. No more reconsideration votes or anything like that can happen. And I will point out, as far as the history that I've been able to find in New London, we've never had a motion a successful motion for reconsideration. I'm not even sure if there ever has been a motion for reconsideration. So this is a first, I know in Michael's time and mine. So to the extent it seems a little bit confusing, I think it is. And my mistake didn't help to make it any clearer. So again, that's kind of all working through this together, and hopefully we can all do it in a, where it comes out the way the voters wanted. You know, the majority of the voters that were there at the end wanted to reconsider those two motions.
Any other public comments? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. My name is Don Dogan, and I just want to understand Article 3 and 9 again. Based on what I read in the report, both articles failed. And now they're up for reconsideration, that we have to vote over again on those two articles?
Article 9 did not fail,
Article 9 did not fail.
did not fail. Article 3 did.
Okay.
It got a majority of the votes, but it did not get the 3/5.
All right.
So it did fail, yes. Article 9 did not fail. It was approved. The reason people wanted to reconsider it is because since Article 3 was being reconsidered, if Article 3 were to be approved on the second try, voters wanted to be able to look at Article 9 and say, hey, we need to have that interest money in to pay the bond that we just, so that's what it is.
Okay, so everybody gets to vote again on Article 3 and 9. Thank you.
Go ahead. Yep.
Hi, Peg Keeler. I'm Barrett. I just wanted a clarification. 2 more meetings or 1 second meeting?
2 more.
2 more. So if the vote fails, and so we're voting to see if it reconsiders, if we can reconsider it again?
No, you've
Or-
already voted to reconsider it,
So that's a legal vote.
yes.
Okay. So what will we be voting on?
You will start out with Article 3, just like you did on Wednesday evening, and then you will go to Article 9 and reconsider that. It may have the same outcome. The second meeting is needed so that voters can say, yes, that second meeting is okay, we approve of it.
Okay.
And the reason we need that is because of the defect
Yeah.
of that. So
Okay.
it's really 2.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry, John.
So, Tom Forster, another just clarification. What are the thresholds for the 4 different votes that I think we will be taking? Reconsidering Article 3, then Article 9 at the first meeting, and then at the second meeting, I don't know if that's 1 vote or 2 votes, but I don't know, whether we do each article separately or not.
Right, so the second meeting, when you do Article 3 and Article 9, if Article 3 continues to be a bond issue, that's a 3/5 vote.
Yes?
The Article 9 is a simple majority, just like all the other articles, and then the second meeting will be a simple majority as well.
And
And
one
we
vote.
vote on the bundle?
1 vote,
One
Vote on the bundle.
yeah.
Well,
Okay,
you're not,
thank you.
On the
you're
bun-
not voting on 3 and 9 at the second meeting. You're simply ratifying the previous meeting. 1 vote. We either ratify the meeting or we do not, and that is the procedural cure
Okay,
for the second meeting.
there's a logical question, I won't even ask it. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Go ahead. Oh,
Thank you, sorry.
you go first, then Bob. Thank you.
For those of us who have trouble hearing,
Oh,
some of us have trouble hearing. I wonder if this could be placed here so we get to understand the
okay. Go ahead, Bob. Is it out of the view of the camera?
Hi, my name is Bob Lyon. Just Two questions for clarification. Will absentee ballots be available for the reconsideration? I mean, I might be out of town, so they won't be available?
Absentee ballots are not allowed for town meeting night.
Is that right?
It's only elections.
Okay. And secondly, I'm beginning to understand this second meeting. What if that fails? I mean, it's hard to predict the future, but what if that does fail?
Then I suppose we don't have a budget. You know, our town meeting will not be ratified. So that'll be a huge problem. Well,
Well, it's another trip to town council to figure out.
yeah.
Yeah, at that point.
Anybody else?
Sorry, Liz Stikeman from New London. Could you just clarify that last statement? If Article 3 does not pass, I understand then we don't go forward with the property and the bond, but you can still approve 9 with the adjustment in the interest. So what portion of those two impacts the budget in that you're saying we don't have a budget, we can't move forward?
Well, because we have to have, the town meeting is still open for purposes of our budget. We cannot submit to the DRA because as far as the DRA is concerned, we're not done yet.
So would you have to go back and reset the budget without the building in it, or what
Nope.
would you do?
Nope, if Article 3 fails, we will report to DRA that that article did not pass. So it will not be included in our budget.
Okay, fine. That's what I thought should happen, but I wasn't clear.
Just
Thank you.
time to reduce the interest, but yes. We don't want to appropriate more than we need.
Karen Epstein again. So again, I'm just trying to understand this, so bear with me. Okay, thank you. So what would make us not have a budget? So we have to have 2 meetings. One meeting, the first one is to do what again?
The voters on Wednesday evening voted to reconsider 2 articles. So we must reconsider those 2 articles as voted at town meeting.
Right.
So that has to be done. So that's why DRA doesn't have any of our paperwork yet, because we're not done with town meeting,
Got it?
because we have 2 articles to do.
Yep.
The question from somebody, Bob, I think, was, what happens if at that second meeting to ratify town meeting, it doesn't pass?
The budget doesn't pass.
The vote to ratify to cure the procedural defect that we had.
Oh, so the second meeting is that meeting to cure the procedural defect.
Exactly.
Okay, now I understand that.
Whoever asked what would happen if that failed, I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of it happening, and I would hope it wouldn't, because I would hope the people who showed up said, okay, we had a town meeting, all the votes were fair, some won, some lost. We need to close out our town meeting and say, yes, we're all aware of what happened. We feel like, we had enough notice, we participated to the extent we wanted to, and vote to ratify the meeting, and then we're done.
Got it. So a question then back to the next meeting coming up. So if the vote gets counted, can there be another motion to reconsider?
Yes, it's just like town meeting.
It can keep going and
It could
going
be,
and going?
yes. And that's true of every meeting. And I think that's one of the things that wasn't maybe understood by people, that every single article could be reconsidered. Anybody could vote to reconsider every article at every town meeting. And could it go on forever? Sure. I've never heard of it going on forever. I think most voters would say that's a colossal waste of time and money to do that, and I'd be surprised if you ever got a majority of people to continue to do it, but sure, they could.
No, okay, just trying to understand all the permutations.
No, it's a
'cause I
little
think
bit tricky. It definitely is tricky.
A lot of confusion at town meeting. I was there till the end, and in the end, it was my head was doing 360s.
Right. I
really.
think we could do a better job in the future of explaining things up front.
I think that would be helpful.
The fact that people aren't really sure of what restricting reconsideration is should be worked on, so people know what that means, because I saw confusion too. I think Michael did a great job explaining it, but it's kind of a difficult concept. And I've talked to voters in the last week, very experienced voters who are not that clear on it. So,
Particularly, I think, because one was kind of taking one on top of the other, and finding that boundary between the two.
yep.
In the moment was very challenging. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
On the stage, too.
Hi, John Cannon. I just have a question about basically the second meeting. So understand that the meeting will be for 3 and 9. And then the second meeting has to be 21 days after that? You can't,
At least 21 days.
at least 21, okay. And then that meeting could be just, is it a rehash of the town meeting where each article has to be?
Only two, only two.
Now, the second meeting, the reconsideration meeting deals with 3 and 9.
Right, and that's the first meeting, or is that
that
the
is-
second meeting?
That would be technically the reconsideration meeting, which is the second meeting which we have yet to schedule.
Okay,
Once that meeting is completed, not sooner than 21 days later, we have to have a ratification meeting to ratify that second meeting because it was procedurally defective.
okay.
It's not procedurally defective now because it hasn't happened yet. It has to happen and get those two articles resolved, and then we have to have a ratification meeting to say, yep, we ratify that second meeting. That's the end.
Okay, and we're also ratifying all the other articles?
Just those two. The
Just
others
those
are
two.
all
So
dealt with.
Ideally, that would be a very short and sweet meeting.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Wishful thinking, but, okay, thanks.
It's not wishful thinking, John, that's what's going to happen, we hope.
Go ahead.
John Wilson. Someone pointed out to me, and in the RSAs, it seems when you're dealing with these reconsiderations, all the rules aren't in the same place. One of them, I think, said for a bond issue over $100,000, has to be an automatic reconsideration, a restricted reconsideration. And so does that mean this is automatically after this next one we have, it's going to be a restricted reconsideration too?
Yeah, it's by default, it's by statute. It's by statute. Following a case in 1973 involving Timberlane High School,
Yep.
the legislature stepped in and made it an RSA that a bond issue in excess of $100,000 is automatically subject to restrictive reconsideration if someone in the meeting wants to reconsider it.
Okay.
So my request for a motion for restrictive reconsideration at the town meeting was not necessary, but it does not nullify the purpose of the statute, which is to ensure that that bond is subject to restrictive reconsideration, which it is, because we're having a second meeting for that purpose.
But this could go on to eternity, right? I mean,
It could go on until
yeah.
one side prevails.
Okay, all right.
Decisively prevails, I guess is the way to do it.
Okay.
I've thought about it, John. I wish there was some way we could stop it short of that, but there isn't. There isn't a mechanism for that.
Big
Let us
keg-
just hope we
big
can
keg of
resolve it.
something, maybe, yeah, anyway, okay, thank you very much.
Rich Epstein, resident. So I thought I've heard contradictory things. So the next meeting, is that to fix the town meeting? Or is the next meeting the meeting we're going to go over Article 2, 3, and 9?
The voters at town meeting voted to reconsider Articles 3 and 9. We need to schedule a meeting to do that. We are referring to that meeting as the second meeting. And that meeting in the future, once we decide when and where, will be for the limited purpose of reconsidering Articles 3 and 9 de novo. What I mean by that is from the beginning, as if the debate had never happened. We get a second bite at the debate and a second chance to vote on 3 and 9. When that meeting is over and those votes have been taken, we need a third meeting 21 days later, not sooner than 21 days later, to ratify the second meeting, to cure the procedural defect of the second meeting once the second meeting has happened. Is that clear to everyone what I mean there?
I think I understand it. To me, it seemed logical. First, you have to cure the problem before then you vote again, but it sounds like
No,
that's not how it
this
works.
legislature has provided this cure in the statutes because it's been the experience since local towns people have tried to hold town meetings for the last 250 years. Sometimes people forget certain little details. So the legislature stepped in and said, well, the cure for these procedural defects is to go ahead and hold a second meeting and then have a ratification meeting to ratify that second meeting, and that will cure the defect. And that's the statute that we have to operate under. It might seem backwards to you, but it didn't to the legislature, and in any event, that's what we're stuck with. So that's what we're trying to plan to make happen.
Thank you.
I'm Paula Meinert. One of my questions is, it has been said that if Article 9 does not pass, the town doesn't have a budget. Is that because the amount asked for is so big?
In order for the town to have a budget, Article 3, the vote on Article 3 must be finalized, yea or nay. Now, we could have a budget if Article 9, whatever happens to Article 9. Article 9 is connected to 3 by virtue of the fact that Article 9 contains the amount of interest that we would have to pay on our indebtedness, which would either need to be increased if we pass the bond, or in the case of the bond article failing, that interest amount would have to be taken out of the Article 9 interest to make it correct. When the selectmen put together the warrant, they presumed Article 9 would Article 3 would pass, and they included the bond interest in Article 9. If Article 3 does not pass, it could be proper to remove that interest out of Article 9, but it could be left in. It's just going to raise the appropriation and raise your raise your tax rate slightly. But it would be appropriating money that we really didn't need. So the reason we decided to include Article 9 in the reconsideration and offer that to you for the voters is to make sure we could adjust Article 9 pending the results of the vote on Article 3, just to tie it all together.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just add, our talking about having no budget, it really is connected with, we need to finish town meeting. Whether these articles are approved or not, we will have to finish town meeting. That's when you'll have a budget, when you conclude town meeting.
I'm not going to have a budget with the open appropriation articles.
Okay.
There it is. Just a quick clarification. I know you haven't met yet to set a date. Your best guess as to when you might actually set a date, and would it be, you think, in April, or you're thinking beyond April, May, June? Give any sense of that? And I know you're still looking into it, so.
The initial discussions that we've had have suggested that it's going to be the same day of the week at the same time. And we were looking at, and it's not, unfortunately, the days when they conducted town meeting in this very hall and had voting there and just did the town meeting right here, those days are gone. We've outgrown the hall. We do not own our town meeting venue. The one we've currently been using, we sold to the school district for $1 years and years ago. So now, in order to conduct a town meeting, you first have to see if the hall is available, and as it is now, we can't get into the one at the school until after classes are out at 3. We also have to contact our PA vendor to provide audio for the entire meeting. We have to contact a chair vendor, make sure the chairs can be delivered so that we can be set up. And also we have to coordinate with the Public Works Department to make sure there's labor enough to do it. So it's not as easy as it once was, but that's no excuse for us not having done it and not having had a date certain. That we're not throwing out an excuse. We're just suggesting that if we do it, and if we decide to do it in another venue, for instance, we're thinking of the high school as one possibility. We can't do it at the college because the college has a firearms prohibition, and the right to carry in New Hampshire is a right that some folks enjoy, and they want to be able to do it at town meeting. Well, you can't have town meeting on a campus because their regulations prohibit it. So that leaves us with the high school. Well, with the high school, now it's just more events that have to be coordinated, more chair vendors, it becomes mobile, we have to figure out transportation for those living in town that can't get there on their own, and it becomes more complicated. So a lot of moving parts to try to get this done, and we're trying to figure out if where and when is the most logical time. We were looking at the first 2 weeks of May. Will and I don't know what the results was. He's going to make some phone calls to see what might be available on those Wednesdays, but we haven't had a chance to regroup on that. But thank you. It's a process, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. No more questions? Okay, so thank you all very much, and we'll hopefully have more information for you shortly. I guess we'll move on to new business. And we're starting with the Energy Committee recommendation for solar panels on the fire station roof.
Thank you, everyone. I wasn't expecting such a large audience this evening. So thanks to all who are going to stay for my brief remarks. And I'm happy to entertain any questions, but if you would like to postpone questions and discussion till a future meeting, that's totally okay. So I'm Jamie Hess. I'm the chair of the Energy Committee, for those who don't know me. And I also want to thank the town voters for approving an addition to the Energy Conservation Capital Reserve Fund. And I would like to suggest a couple of options for dispersing some of the money in that fund before it loses any more ground to inflation. We've received 2 excellent proposals from a local vendor for 2 new municipal solar arrays to add to the 2 municipal arrays that were installed in 2020. And in the case of these, we have the opportunity, we the town have the opportunity to own the arrays and derive a lot of financial benefit in terms of reduced electric bills on the town's electric meters. So the 2 proposed arrays, one is on the fire station roof, and I have, for anyone who's interested, I have copies of the proposals, the quotations right here with me. So one is on the fire station roof, and the other is at the stump dump. On the fire station roof, the Energy Committee recommends that we proceed with that project first. It's a less expensive project, and it's going to deliver greater savings to the town per dollar spent than the stump dump project, which had been the leading candidate. But we think that the fire station now is an even better option. But Considering that we have the threat of tariffs on steel and aluminum, which are major components of a solar array, and there's also the question of whether any of the provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act, that federal act, could be repealed in the future. It seems like the time is now to take advantage of the attractive pricing on solar at present before the tariffs kick in, and also do our best to get those 30% federal rebates on one or both systems. So my understanding is that with the new appropriation or contribution to the capital reserve, we're at approximately $165,000. I'm not sure if that's as of now or as of the beginning of the next fiscal year.
That'll be in July.
Okay. But that means that right now we can afford to move forward with the fire station roof project, and on July 1st, on or after July 1st, we can move forward with perhaps a scaled down version of the stump dump project, but one that would be worth doing nonetheless. So the price quote on the fire station roof is $60,000. We hope to get a 30% federal rebate, which would bring it down to $42,000. The current price of the stump dump solar array is $140,000. With the 30% federal rebate, that would bring it down to $98,000. But we have to spend the money first and then apply for the rebate. So if it was an instantaneous rebate, we could do that project right off the bat. But since we have to put up the entire cost first and then apply for the rebate, we might not be able to do the full size array. We might have to scale it back. And the Energy Committee can negotiate scaling it back if need be. So both of these quotes have a 30-day time limit. One of them expires on April 2nd. The other expires on April 11th. And it's possible we could get them extended for another 30 days or perhaps not. So I don't know if the Selectmen have made a decision on when to hold your next meeting. And that would be an important piece of information because ideally we would want to have a motion to proceed with one or both solar arrays at your next meeting, and we can stay in contact on whether the quotes are still valid at that time or if they need to be renewed or extended.
April 3rd will be our next meeting.
Okay, great. So that's within the time limit for the fire station roof, which is good till April 11th, and I can contact the vendor and see if they would give us an extra day or two or 30 on the stump dump.
Okay. Okay. Any questions? Rich or Janet?
Jamie, it indicates here that there's a 25-year product warranty on the panel. Yep. Sure. It indicates, Jamie, that there's a 25-year product warranty on the panels guaranteed by Jinko Solar. There's a 30-year performance warranty. Could you explain to us what the difference is between a performance warranty versus the product warranty?
Well, I can tell you about the performance warranty. And that says that, well, everybody knows that infrastructure degrades over time. And so each solar panel produces approximately 0.5% less electricity with every passing year. So the performance warranty simply says that after 30 years, the panels are warranted to be producing at least 80% of their original output.
You know, I guess
I think it might actually be 85%, which is pretty outstanding after 30 years. So I'm not sure what the 25-year warranty does when the 30-year warranty seems to supersede the 25-year warranty.
I guess that's one thing I would ask Jamie, if you wouldn't mind, if you could check into that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
I can't understand, you know, I can't imagine, if you're in year 26 and you've got a 25-year product warranty, essentially it's kind of almost the reverse, that the 30-year performance warranty becomes meaningless. So if
Well, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hard to understand how both can be in effect simultaneously.
Right.
But the you know, rest assured that the answer is somewhere between 25 and 30 years.
Got it. And then my only other question, Jamie, is in terms of the installation, the proposed installation on the roof of the firehouse. I've heard conversation, I don't know any of the details about a proposed renovation of the fire station. Would the location of these panels potentially be altered, say 6-7 years down the road, if we were to do some sort of a proposed renovation of the fire department?
Well, we've specifically excluded the new wing of the fire station for that very reason. That right-hand bay on the new wing of the fire station, it's my understanding that that's where the remodeling would take place, if at all. So we would love to put panels on that wing as well, but it's going to have to wait until that remodeling has either been completed or has been ruled out. So for the time being, we're only going to install panels, or recommend installing panels, on the portion of the building that is not subject to renovation.
And forgive me if you've already answered this, but in terms of the electricity production by this proposed system, how much electricity would it produce?
Well, the numbers on this quote that I'm looking at are, it's expected to produce 72% of the electricity that's currently being used by the fire station. So we can't get to 100% unless we can also put panels on that rear wing, which, like I said, we can't do that yet. Once we get to that point, we can hopefully get to 100% of the fire station's electric consumption. So there are some big numbers on this quote. The solar panels are expected to produce 27,100 kilowatt hours per year. The current consumption at the fire station is 37,500 kilowatt hours per year.
Okay.
So that's 72%.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right, thank you.
Janet, any questions?
I guess I have a comment. Number one, thank you. You do amazing work, and we really appreciate your investigating the possibilities. I guess my comment would be, I wouldn't necessarily count on the federal government giving us rebates. So if we're going to proceed, I think we should only proceed with the fire station solar array and wait and see what happens with rebates, with the federal government actually honoring some of these things. So I'm not sure that we should go forward with the other array at the transfer station.
Okay, well, Janet, thank you for that comment. And of course, it's the Selectmen's responsibility to decide what to expend from the Capital Reserve Fund. I'm just here to make suggestions, and we would be overjoyed just to see solar go up on the fire station. I think it would be something that everybody in town could be proud of. It's interesting that, and I'll wrap this up fairly quickly because I know you have lots more on your agenda. We did a brief survey in the past week on what townspeople think of our sustainability goals, and we discovered that of the people who completed the survey, 2/3 of them were unaware that we even had sustainability goals. Of course, those were passed at the 2018 town meeting, and a lot of people have moved to New London since then. So it's a great opportunity to do some education. We also found that once people knew what the goals were, 92% approved of those goals and were interested in seeing us take some action to move toward them. And it's interesting, a lot of people have been not only unaware of our goals, but they were unaware of the big step we took back in 2020, installing municipal solar. Because the 2 arrays that we did put in are fairly well hidden down South Pleasant Street and off the dead end of Frothingham Road. So I think the opportunity to put municipal solar panels on the fire station where everyone will see them will make a huge difference in getting people excited that we're actually moving forward, even though we already started moving forward 5 years ago.
Thank you, Jamie.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jamie, we'll see you on the 3rd.
Okay, looking forward to it. Wonderful. Thanks.
Thanks. John?
Just want to make 2 quick points. Yes, it is for the main section of the firehouse. And the other thing, I think the difference in the warranties is the 25 years is kind of a parts and labor. So if an individual cell or a piece of it goes out, and then the performance one is that you're going to get the 85% from the system. You know, and if 1 or 2 panels go out, they'll get replaced, the rest of the system. So that's just to clarify that. I believe that's what the case would be. Thanks.
Bill?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Phil Sherman. I'm reflecting on conversations that I've been involved with probably over the last 5 years and up until an hour ago. As I understand it, there's some question as to whether the town at some point may have to take over the ambulance. That would require new space. The ladder truck is on its last legs periodically here, and the new one is going to be large enough that it won't fit in the existing bays. The trajectory for staff means at some point we will have more paid staff there, potentially needing to deal with overnight shifts, requiring internal renovations. Only to say that the work to date by Chief Lyon and others are broad concepts not by architects, not by people who are going to really dig into it, but just this is what might work, and valid. It's a place to start. I think my point is we have no idea what that fire station is going to look like in the next few years. It may well change. And I just think, you know, putting a 25 or a 30-year investment on a building that we know is going to have some significant changes to it, the select board ought to think carefully about. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Next, we've got our meeting schedule going through the rest of through till next March. I shared some dates with the both of you, and are you both okay with all of these dates?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody in the audience want me to read through the dates? Okay. Don't do that, Jen says. Okay, so Kim, you've got all the dates and they can be posted on the website. Okay. The next order of business is we can talk about some committee assignments. So, first, we've got Planning Board. I'm guessing that Janet would like to stay as the representative on the Planning Board. Yes. Okay. Do we have to take motions on each of these things, Kim? No.
You do not have to if
We'll
you don't
just
want
do
to.
assignments. Okay. All right, Janet, the Planning Board. Budget Committee. Rich, I was going to ask you if you would like to be interested in being the select person on the Budget Committee with all of your experience being on the MBC. I have enjoyed it for the last 2 years, but I'm willing to hand it over. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I will stay on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. We have Board of Fire Awards. You've been attending those meetings.
Yeah, I'll stay there.
Okay. Energy, we have the Energy Committee. Do we need a selectman on?
You don't
To
have to. I mean, many of these you have
Yeah,
decided to go to and kind of follow, but currently, there isn't a selectman that routinely goes to energy.
okay. All right. I don't think there's any others that we're required to attend at the moment, right? The other ones we have, Energy, we have the Housing Commission, we have the Recreation Commission, we have the Waste Reduction Committee, which is going to be folded into the Citizens Committee, and we have the Police Facilities Advisory Committee. Am I missing anything? Okay. So, and we can all always attend any of those meetings. but
Correct.
We just had to assign.
Right.
Okay. All right, so I think we're good with that. We have the rules of procedure that we adopt every year, but we just got those circulated to us, so we'll do that adoption at the next meeting on April 3rd. Okay. Let's see, I think that takes care of that. And then the update on the town administrative position search. So Kim and I checked in with MRI this week. They currently, as of the other day, had 13 applications for the position. The ad closes on March 24th. And so they are starting to compile the applications that they have and doing review. When everything closes on the 24th, then they will send out a series of essay questions to all of the applicants for them to respond to. And then they'll start doing some telephone interviews and some sort of background checks. And then they will send us a list ultimately with, I think, 3 to 5 candidates, she said, once they go through it all. We would like to put together a citizens committee to do interviews, and those interviews should take place approximately the week of April 21st to the 30th. So I'm thinking maybe at the next meeting, April 3rd meeting, we can each, throw together two people. Each one of us can choose. That's 6. And then what should we do? One more that we all kind of.
You
And
generally
do we-
have an odd number, so.
So we have an odd number. And did we decide on department heads if we wanted? And if, Rich and Janet, if you want to throw in any comments on how you think the Citizens Committee should be built?
Well, I think the Citizens Committee should be a separate committee. I think we should have department heads as a committee,
Okay.
and they meet separately, and the Selectmen as a committee meet separately, so that you have 3 different groups meeting with the candidates.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
I haven't done this before. You've been through it, I think, have you?
Not for TA, but
Okay.
zoning administrator.
All right. Do you have any thoughts?
Would we be asking candidates to come back 3 different times for 3 different interviews with?
Or maybe one day and they just meet with 3 different
Three groups, yeah.
I think it's important that department heads all meet with that person as
Yeah.
well as the Selectmen and then the Citizens Committee.
You might want to think about having the citizens and the department heads on one day, then they give you give their recommendations, maybe you spend a day or 2 thinking about it, and meet with, however many top ones that they, bring to you.
Yeah.
So I would probably say 2 days.
Well, as I understand, we're going to be given a list of 3 to 5 candidates. I would actually like the opportunity, if it's only going to be 3 to 5 candidates, even if the other 2 committees are going to meet, I'd like it if we could all meet them as well.
I think you probably will, and it could be more than 3 to 5. It really depends, I think.
Yeah.
If there are, half a dozen excellent candidates, then all of them, I think, would be invited in.
Yeah.
Right, and it may be that whichever, let's say that 5 go to each committee, you may certainly want to meet with all 5 of them. But I was just thinking, if it was another day, you'd at least have the benefit of the comments of the citizens and the department heads before you meet them.
Okay. And then the goal ultimately is around the first week of May, the board interviews the finalists, and then MRI will assist us with making offers and negotiating. Hopefully, we can have somebody hired by the middle of May. And with the goal of having them start sometime in June to be able to work with Kim for a bit of time before the transition occurs. Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that, on the town administrator search? Okay. All right. Town administrator report.
I really have nothing to add. Again, I'm regretful that our town meeting was a little bit rockier than I would have hoped for my last one, but hopefully we can move ahead and all learn from this, and that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Committee meetings and reports. Nothing? Rich, you had?
I can just say as an aside, Kim, don't feel badly, because in a conversation with my sister today, who, like my wife, is smarter than I am, said I may be asking for my own motion for reconsideration about the idea of joining the select board by the time this is done, so we'll see.
I attended the Water Precinct annual meeting the other night, and I'm looking for my notes on it. And basically, it was a great meeting, very well attended. They had 3 articles. The first article that they had was their budget. Their budget went up from $671,000 to $1,257,000. Biggest reasons for that, mostly $440,000 for principal and interest payments on the water project, on the bond for that. About 75, I have my notes, but I can't find them, so I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. About $75,000, $80,000 in salary and wages and benefits increases due to Rhonda leaving. They've made her position full-time, so that person now gets health insurance. And they also did their own informal wage study, which resulted in some increases in wages for their other full-time employees. That passed without a problem. The next article was for the funding of the water system improvements, which goes back to that state DES, the new DES rules on lead and copper pipes. They have to do all the research on all the hookups to see how many are lead pipes. They've done a ton of research, and they're down to now, I think he said 77 lines left that they have to research, which means digging up to determine if they are lead or copper. And so they raised $25,000 towards that project. That passed. And the last article was funding for the engineering work that they're doing down on Colby Point to determine the future of the Colby Point wells. And that also passed. Well-attended meeting, some really good conversation on the future of water sources and kind of a timeline laying out with the Colby Point study and where we go from there. So that's all I've got. And if anybody wants to add anything that might have been there, feel free. And then we've got meeting minutes, and Janet, you asked if we could put that off. Okay, so we'll put that off, Kim, to the next meeting to approve the meeting minutes. And I think that's it. So next regularly scheduled Selectmen's meeting will be April 3rd. There's a Waste Reduction Committee meeting Thursday, March 27th. The Budget Committee is meeting on April 2nd to kind of debrief from this year and introduce the new members. I'll be there too, but you can be there too, Ray. Energy Committee meeting April 2nd. Citizens Advisory we're doing on April 5th. Okay, and the Housing Commission is doing their phase 2 of their housing forum information. That's also on April 5th, so we'll get out of the Citizens Committee meeting quickly and get up to Colby for the Housing Commission. Planning Board, April 8th, Rec Commission, April 14th, Conservation, April 16th, and Bicycle and Pedestrian, April 17th. I think that's it. Any other business? No? And we have stuff to sign. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.